Thanks for joining us. You are watching Media Week, and we're live from the annual gathering of the subscription TV industry, the Astra Conference. Well, certainly we've been seeing cautious consumers, rising free-to-air digital channels. They're not the only rivals, perhaps, or competitors for pay TV, are they? We've also got IPTV, or video entertainment delivered to your TV set via the internet, and that's tipped to see substantial growth. Well, since launching in 2010, IPTV provider Fetch TV is now offered by a number of major internet service providers, and we're joined by the CEO of Fetch TV, Scott Lawson. Now, Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Well, firstly, I thought it was really interesting that you're here today.
Yeah,
I guess you're
pleased to see the invite.
Yeah, so, I mean, do you sort of feel you're in enemy territory a little bit?
Well, old guys, I was here, but certainly we're trying to create a competitive alternative to Foxtel and Austar, so that does make today a bit interesting to be amongst our friends in the industry.
Do you think the arrival of the NBN will push IPTV into the forefront, into the mainstream? But at the same time, we've heard John Porter's sort of warned about the sort of hundreds of dollars it might cost people to sort of access these fast speeds.
Yeah. Look, I think that IPTV is here now, and we certainly don't expect to, and our plans aren't predicated on the NBN. The NBN is going to help us reach rural areas and do some very interesting things, but this product is here and now. So we would expect that ourselves, the Telstra T-Box, TPG service, etc., those new products combined would have more subscribers by the end of the year than Austar has after 17 years. So this certainly isn't about the future. In terms of John's comments about the NBN, there is a cost for a thing called multicast. It's a technical question. I think it's been addressed and being addressed well, and it will allow us to provide actually a more cost-effective service on the NBN, so we absolutely have no fears there.
We do hear a key theme that content is everything. You've been in the market, since 2010. Yep. How tough is it still to sign big content deals?
Look, I think for the majority of players it's very difficult. There's a range of exclusivity in the market, and these are very expensive contracts. You're dealing with Hollywood studios who have very high expectations, correctly so. Regional scale really helps, and our minority shareholder, who has 45%, is one of Asia's largest media and telco groups, and that's afforded us the opportunity to negotiate at a regional level. So we've been particularly successful, and as an example, we now have a contract in place with every single major Hollywood studio and distributor for the presentation of their product on Fetch TV, but we are in a privileged position being part of a larger group.
How important is it, with the flood of smart TVs into the market, are they things your customers need or not necessarily?
Well, I think, we often focus on the technology or the device. The reality is over the last few years, you're seeing consumers access content in a whole new myriad of ways. I mean, the iPad, the connected TV, the gaming consoles, the set-top boxes, etc. So there's a lot more choice, and the question is not which device or which technology, it's just who's going to make it easy. And I think Apple did a great job with music, and what we're trying to do is to bring that same ease of integrating all of these divergent experiences to the main TV, to the living room, and enable them on other devices. We currently provide the service via set-top box, and we think that there are advantages in the medium term of doing that. In the future, I think connected TVs will play a bigger role. But personally, I think there's some further advancements required before those become the default way of accessing these services.
Just one quick last one, and I'm not sure that you'll give me much of an answer. With the ACCC decision due on the Foxtel-Austar merger, you're expecting to get more content, especially sports content, as a result of the competition undertaking?
Yep, well, it is a tricky question, but look, the ACCC has identified some concerns, some competitive concerns, not necessarily about the retail space, but about access to content. We think those concerns are legitimate. We're coming off a particularly strong base, and we do think that this process, which we're participating in, will enable us to secure some additional content. Some of that will be lifestyle, some will be music, some will be drama news, and potentially some sport. But we're just going to wait and see how that finishes up. I think ultimately we're excited that there will be some incremental benefits to our consumers. But once again, we think we've got a compelling proposition already. So it'll be a positive outcome for us, but certainly not something we're dependent on.
Great to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the program. Fetch TV CEO Scott Lawson there. Well, of course, one of the features, the highlights of the Astra conference is the awarding of the Pioneer Awards, and that goes to someone who's made a big difference to the industry. And this year, of course, Kim Williams, the former CEO of Foxtel, was honoured with that award for bringing Foxtel into the digital age. We spoke to him a bit earlier.
Oh, well, of course, it's not my achievement. It's an achievement of a whole team, and I'm very strong about team. And you know, you're privileged to lead a team, but you're only as good as your team. So I would never want to claim credit being attributed to me. It's attributable to a whole bunch of very talented people. I suppose the launch of the digital product was a very big moment, and I think the AFL deal was a very big moment, the most recent set of rights, which is a bit of a groundbreaker, really. It's the only rights agreement like that anywhere in the world. And I think over time it will prove to be a marvellous engine of growth and of real customer stickiness.
That was my next question, because obviously the conference is about debating the future. What do you think? Is that the key then to subscriber growth, or is it perhaps looking at different pricing models like micropayments? And I guess I'm interested to know that too, given your new role.
Well, I think we call the association the Subscription Television Association for a very obvious reason. Fundamental to the economic health and welfare of the product we offer is a subscription. So whilst there may be overlays on top of that, I think just to bring the whole industry back to a micropayment periodic as consumed model would never work, and the whole industry would collapse. For example, the marvellous services Sky News offers would never survive in that sort of framework. You need to have the benefit of subscription and security of funding, because the proposition is choice. The proposition is actually about having a whole array of things that are available to you immediately, and that doesn't happen in a purely on-demand model.
So, any other thoughts then for the...
Look, the story is the same. One has to innovate. That the greatest innovators in Australian media are subscription telecasters. They are phenomenal innovators. They're innovators about HD, they're innovators about audio, they're innovators about interactive services, they're innovators in terms of the way in which you can package and sort material, they're innovators in their electronic program guides, they're innovators in second and third screen devices such as mobile smartphones and smart devices like tablets and PCs. Subscription television is a powerhouse of innovation, and that's the reason that it's been successful. And I think over time it will continue to grow and prosper, because consumers get that. They say, I want that. I want to align with where the thinking is. I want to align with people who I know are thinking about me and thinking about listening to me all the time.
And of course, one of the big topics of debate here at the Astra conference has been the impact that the NBN, the National Broadband Network, could have on the subscription TV industry. And speaking on that today has been the NBN co-CEO Mike Quigley, who joins us now. Mike, what impact could it have on pay TV?
Well, today was a great opportunity to address the media industry on the opportunities the NBN brings, and they are very large, I think, as most of the audience here realise.
How critical is, everyone hears about media consumption across the internet, how critical is the spread of things like IPTV to drive up the use of what you're going to be offering?
Well, I think IPTV is going to be very widespread, but also so is over-the-top video, which you're seeing with YouTube. If you just look at the US, Netflix now is about a third of the peak download of across the internet across the US. It just shows you how much video is going to be used and be a part of the internet.
We've seen Ozstar's CEO John Porter warning about the impact that the NBN could have in driving up piracy rates in Australia. I mean, do you accept that this is going to be an issue, and do we need to see some kind of regulatory change to come in this?
That's really not an area that we in NBN are looking at, other than to make sure the network is secure, because that really needs to be controlled above us. Remember, we just are moving bits across the network as a platform. Those type of issues really need to be handled above us.
Do you accept, though, that piracy could be an issue?
I think certainly, I think all of us, but piracy and security are something that we all need to think about, and we're trying to do everything we can, working with the government agencies to make sure this network is secure.
And this might be outside of your remit a little bit too, but the cost people will have to pay. We often hear that used as people who sort of argue against, you know, what you're trying to do. Are people right to be perhaps a little fearful of how much it could cost them?
I would just look at the prices that are now in the market. We pitched our wholesale prices to get a small return for the government, but those prices now at the retail level from more than half a dozen suppliers are very competitive with today's ADSL 2+ prices, but for a much better service.
It's been great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the program. NBN CEO Mike Quigley there. Well, of course, there has been some other news happening as well, apart from the Astra conference. And James, very interesting moves in the outdoor space. We've seen 10 having a strategic review of iCorp. Says it's not necessarily up for sale, though.
No, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, haven't we? We've had from O Media has been in, and JC Deco have talked to us before, and we believe APN Outdoor. So there's 3 people there who could be very interested. We even asked Brendan Cook on the show, just was it last week or the week before, and he sort of said, yeah, look, we might be, but I think they definitely are.
Of course, as well, we've seen in the magazine business recently the men's sector really suffering in terms of sales, and ACP's taken the decision to close down FHM.
Yeah, it's been taking a real beating, that sort of sector of the men's market. It's an old-fashioned, you know, way of treating men, I guess, using women on covers and stuff. We've seen Ralph close. The sales for Zoo have tumbled a lot, the ACP Weekly, and it's sort of it's a new wave of men's magazines, and it's not an overnight change. It's been happening for a long time. Men's Health has been doing fantastic business, building up its numbers. It's the #1 men's magazine now, and things like Top Gear, which wasn't around a few years ago, that's sucked a lot of readers out of the market too.
Of course, staying in the magazine sector, it was interesting to see ACP as well rebranding one of its titles. Yeah,
one of their PC magazines, they're turning it into a general tech title. So tech's a very hot topic, but sort of you don't want to be identified with the PC, you know, the old desktop computer. It's just not an incentive for someone to buy a magazine anymore. But if they can drag those readers across, and most of the staff will go over onto this new title.
And just very quickly as well, Adshell's appointed Rob Atkinson as its permanent CEO.
Yeah, he came out here last year as a replacement for Steve McCarthy when he left the business. So they did a bit of a search and they've decided Rob's the best person for the job. So he's going to stay on now in what's going to be a pretty hot sector this year, I think.
All right, we've only got a minute left, but we do have time for a quick check on the TV ratings for the past week. Let's have a look at the free-to-air top 10 first. And James, again, My Kitchen Rules, it was what, five out of the top 10?
Yeah, it was five nights a week now, so all those 5 shows are in there. We're down to there's only a few more episodes to go. So yeah, it's been a fantastic start for 7, and all the opposition is looking to go big time after Easter and hopefully get some of their viewers back.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see what happens there. Now let's have a look at the top 5 sport programs on subscription TV. This is for week 11, and we did see Fox Sports 2 well, taking out the top 5 with the NRL, James.
Sure, yeah, it did very well for them.
And just finally, the top 5 non-sport programs as well. Selling Houses Australia for Lifestyle was at #1, and Modern Family for Fox 8.
Yeah, good to see a new title for A&E, the new channel in there too.
Excellent. James, as always, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from the Astra conference this week on Media Week.